So let's start with some numbers so it doesn't just feel like vibes. The median salary in Germany right now is about 53,900 gross a year. Then Germany, of course, does what Germany does best: taxes and social contributions. So Germany has one of the highest tax burdens in the developed world. And if you're a single earner, almost 45 or more of your gross income disappears into taxes and health insurance and pension and other contributions before you even see your salary. That 54,000 euros quickly becomes about 2,500 to 2,800 per month eating your account. Now, put that person in Berlin or Munich or Frankfurt. Rent easily is about 1,000 to 1,500 for something decent. Then you talk about transport and food and insurance and small luxuries, so you don't feel and appear like a pauper. At the end of the month, if you're disciplined, maybe you can save 300 to 500 on a good month. And if you earn more, let's say you earn 4,000 to 5,000 monthly after tax, maybe you can be able to save up to 1,000 to 2,000 a month, depending on how frugal you are. Let's do the math. To buy a cheap, decent apartment in Berlin, you need roughly 300,000 euros. And that's for something just manageable, like a two-bedroom or something. Even if you move outside of the city and you move to remote areas, you still need about 100,000 euros. How many years worth of savings do you need to be able to pay cash in full? 15 years? And that's for even relatively high earners to buy a relatively cheap apartment. So who are the people who actually make it? When you look at the data in Germany, wealth is not some fair game where everybody has equal shots. The top 10% of households own roughly 2/3 of all the wealth in the country. The bottom 50%, which is half of the population, share about 1 to 3% of the wealth between them. Think about that again. Half of the country is basically fighting over crumbs. To be in the top 10%, you need around 725,000 plus in net assets. Most people will never see that number, except maybe on a mortgage contract that belongs to the bank. And there's the hard part that nobody likes to admit. The number one way people in Germany become rich is inheritance. The good old money. If your parents or your grandparents own property, a business or an investment, you are playing a different game from the rest of us. So when you as an immigrant or somebody from a poor background sit there comparing yourself to people who are rich at maybe 30, you're comparing apples and oranges. You're comparing different starting points. Now, let's talk about being rich as an immigrant in Germany. Statistically, first-generation immigrants earn about 20% less than natives. That's simply because they were pushed into lower-paying sectors, worse contracts and jobs below their qualifications, or they didn't even have up-to-standard qualifications in the first instance, which means they will spend more of their income on rent. They live in smaller places with low-quality housing. They have 31.8% risk of poverty, far higher than the general population. You are already starting the race behind, paying more for worse housing and sending money back home to support your family. You are trying to build wealth in a system that wasn't designed for you in mind. No family assets here. There's no uncle who just gives you a down payment. Just you, your salary, and the cost of living that keeps rising. In countries like Nigeria, owning land or a house is a big symbol of you are doing okay. In Germany, most people don't own. Germany is one of the lowest ownership rates in Europe. Only about 47% of people own their homes. The majority rent, and buying is not a joke. Property can cost 6 to 10 times your annual gross income. You need a 10 to 20% down payment, and it can even be up to 20 to 40% if you're a foreigner. And on top of that, you need to pay 7 to 12% just in taxes and fees on purchase. So imagine you are earning the median salary, you are taxed almost half, your rent is high, you send money home, and someone says, just buy property, bro. Real estate is the key to wealth. Yeah, cool. Yeah, but with what money? This is where a lot of us start feeling like the door to asset ownership is basically welded shut. Now, if I end the video here, the conclusion will be simple. We are finished. Close the channel, sell your laptop and go and sleep. But that's not the full story, because even inside this very unfriendly system, people are still finding ways to build serious wealth. There are so many stories of successful immigrants if you care to find them. In fact, this is one of the aims of this channel, and we'll hopefully get to it very soon. But before then, the current question is how realistic those paths are for people like us. So let's look at them honestly. If you're lucky enough to have parents or grandparents with properties or assets, that inheritance might be the single biggest wealth event of your life. If you don't, well, good luck. But it means you can't copy the lifestyle of people who are secretly playing with family money. Their 2 years of work to find themselves is funded by the grandma's house. You and I are renting the apartment. We are the ones paying for them to take 2 years off. Your own 2 years off might mean you will never recover. The path to is to build a business. In Germany, around 75% of millionaires are self-employed. So actual business owners, we have doctors with their own practices, we have small factories, we have tradespeople with a team, and restaurant owners and agency owners. These people work around 47 hours per week, which is about 10 hours more than the average people. They carry risk, they carry responsibilities, they carry a lot of stress that a lot of us don't want. For immigrants, it can be both harder and more necessary because your degree is not respected, your name can get filtered, and you hit a ceiling in corporate world. I do not want to mention things like this on this channel, but it is hard to ignore, which is that some positions that carry a lot of influence and money are not reserved for people like you, and you need to accept the fact so that you can channel your energy into something that you have a better chance at. So either you accept the ceiling or you start something of your own. But let's be honest, business is not also a guaranteed path to being rich. It can make you rich, but it can also make you broke very fast, faster than any 9 to 5 if it fails. And if you're not aware, running a business in Germany is not a bed of roses. Path 3, invest slowly and aggressively. Some people simply just grind it out. They live below their means. They invest in ETFs, which they pay into for 20 to 30 years. So they slowly build a portfolio into hundreds of thousands. So you can also take risk with a mortgage, but be ready to deal with all that is involved. And it is not easy, but it's not impossible. It just requires time and discipline. A lifestyle that doesn't try to copy the rich people on Instagram. The risk here is psychological, right? You can do this for years and feel like there's nothing happening, and you are still exposed to taxes on gains, market crashes, and the temptation to cash out early when life gets very hard. The path 4 is mixing geographies and systems. For example, earning in a rich country like Germany, living or investing partly in places where the cost of living and asset prices are lower. Some people work here, they save and invest here, but they buy land, property, or build businesses in their home country or some other country that is cheaper. So your German salary gives you the capital, and the capital is big enough in another country for you to make leverage. That comes with its own risk. For example, we have political instability back home, we have currency risk, your scams and family drama. But for a lot of immigrants, this is the only way the number starts to look like real wealth. Let me add one more risk that nobody talks about, which is the risk of spending your entire life chasing wealth and never actually living. It is very easy, especially in diaspora, to treat your entire 20s or your 30s as this sacrifice phase. You hate your job, but to stay for the money. You live in a room you hate, in a city you don't like, because one day you want to be rich. So you keep postponing joy, you keep postponing your health, you keep postponing hobbies and things that make you actually happy. And one day, you're probably at 45, you have some money saved up, but you've burned through your entire youth chasing a life that you never actually lived. So, back to my original question. How does one even become rich? If you're from where I'm from, living where I live now, here's the uncomfortable truth. The system is not designed to make you rich. It's designed to make you okay. If you want to be more than okay, then you have to play a different game. But you can build skills that are actually scarce and valuable. You can use your 9 to 5 as your seed capital. It's not just for surviving. You can start something small on the side that you can grow. You can invest small, borrowing amounts consistently for decades and be very intentional about where you live, what you own, and what you tolerate. Is it impossible? No. But it's also not guaranteed. You can do everything right and still never become rich in the sense that you want to be. The only thing worse than that for me is never trying and then resenting everyone else for the rest of your life. If you're interested in more honest, no hype conversations like this about money, career, migration, and everything in between, you can subscribe, then you can leave a like and share this with your friend who is tired and wants to be rich. And in the comment section, I want you to be brutally honest. Do you still believe that in your lifetime you can become rich? And if yes, what are your actual plans, are your strategies, and do you think you can achieve them? I'll see you in the comment section, and bye for now.